The cargo ship Defiance moved slowly through the empty space between two distant star systems. Captain James Mitchell sat in his worn captain's chair, watching the stars through the main window. His crew of 37 people had been traveling for 6 months, carrying mining equipment and supplies to the new human colony on Kepler Prime. It was supposed to be a routine trip. Nothing ever happened on these cargo runs through deep space. That was exactly how James liked it. Boring meant safe, and safe meant his people got home to their families. "Captain," called out Beth Adams from the communication station. "I'm picking up something strange on the sensors. There's an object approaching us from the port side." James stood up and walked over to her station. "What kind of object?" Beth frowned at her screen. "It's small, maybe the size of a shuttle, but it's not showing up on any of our identification systems. The design doesn't match any human or known alien vessels." Unknown alien vessel. James felt his stomach tighten. Humanity had only made contact with 3 alien species so far, and relations were still fragile. "How close is it?" 2,000 kilometers and closing, Beth replied. "It's not responding to our hail signals." James looked around his bridge. His crew was small but experienced. Robert Hayes, his chief engineer, was a man who could fix anything with spare parts and determination. Dr. Emily Watson was their physicist and scientist, brilliant enough to solve problems that would stump university professors. Mark Thompson handled navigation, Tom Bradley kept their mining equipment running, and Lisa Parker could repair any computer system ever built. "All hands, this is the captain," James announced over the ship's communication system. "We have an unidentified vessel approaching. Everyone stay calm and continue your duties." The alien probe moved closer, silent and mysterious. It looked like nothing James had ever seen before. The hull seemed to shift and change color as it moved, and strange symbols glowed along its surface. "Captain," Emily Watson called from the science station, "I'm reading massive energy buildup in that probe. Whatever it's doing, it's charging up for something big." "Evasive maneuvers," James ordered. "Mark, get us out of here." Mark Thompson's hands flew over the navigation controls. "Engines at full power, sir. But that thing is matching our speed perfectly." The probe suddenly stopped moving and hung motionless in space. The symbols on its hull began flashing rapidly, and a low humming sound filled the bridge of the Defiance. "Energy readings are off the charts," Emily reported, her voice tight with worry. "Captain, I think it's about to." A blinding flash of blue-white light erupted from the alien probe. The electromagnetic pulse hit the Defiance like an invisible hammer, and every light on the ship went dark. The comforting hum of the engines died instantly, leaving them in complete silence. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting red shadows across the bridge. James felt his heart pounding as he realized they were completely powerless, drifting helplessly in the void. "Report," he demanded. Robert Hayes was already checking his engineering console with a hand scanner. "Everything's dead, Captain. Main engines, life support, navigation, weapons. That pulse fried every circuit in our primary systems." "How bad is it?" James asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. "Bad," Robert replied grimly. "Life support is running on emergency battery power. We've got maybe 72 hours before the air recyclers fail and we start suffocating." Dr. Watson looked up from her instruments. "Captain, that wasn't a random attack. The pulse was specifically designed to disable our technology. Whoever sent that probe knew exactly what they were targeting." Before James could respond, the ship's communication system crackled to life. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical, clearly not human. "Primitive humans," the alien voice said with obvious disgust. "Your crude vessels contaminate civilized space. Your technology is incompatible with advanced civilization. You will abandon your ship immediately and await collection by a proper transport." James felt anger rising in his chest. "This is Captain James Mitchell of the human cargo vessel Defiance. We are peaceful travelers carrying supplies to our colony. We have done nothing wrong." "Your very presence is wrong," the alien replied. "Your species builds machines like children playing with dangerous toys. You have no understanding of proper technology. Leave your ship now, or we will destroy it with you inside." The communication cut off, leaving the crew of the Defiance in stunned silence. "Well," Robert Hayes said after a long moment, "that was friendly." Lisa Parker looked scared. "Captain, what are we going to do? We can't abandon ship. Our escape pods don't have enough range to reach any inhabited system." James looked around at his crew. These were good people, hard-working men and women who had families waiting for them back on Earth. They didn't deserve to die because some alien species had decided humanity wasn't advanced enough to exist. "We're not abandoning anything," James said firmly. "This is our ship, and we're going to find a way to fix it." Tom Bradley shook his head. "Sir, with respect, how can we fix anything? We don't have power, and our manufacturing systems are completely dead." "We've got mining equipment in the cargo hold," Robert pointed out. "Most of it uses hardened systems that might have survived the pulse. And we've got spare parts, raw materials, and the most stubborn crew in the galaxy." Dr. Watson was already thinking, her scientific mind working on the problem. "The pulse left traces in our systems. I'm detecting fragments of crystalline material that wasn't there before. If I can analyze it, maybe we can understand their technology." James smiled for the first time since the attack. "That's what I like to hear. We didn't come this far just to give up now." He looked at each member of his crew. "We're going to tear this ship apart if we have to, and we're going to put it back together better than before. And when those aliens come back expecting to find a dead Hulk, they're going to get the surprise of their lives." The crew of the Defiance worked like people possessed. Captain James Mitchell had divided them into teams, each one focused on a different part of their impossible task. With only 72 hours before life support failed completely, every minute counted. Robert Hayes crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnels with Lisa Parker, both of them carrying tool bags and emergency lights. The ship's corridors were dark except for the dim red glow of battery-powered emergency strips along the floor. "This is crazy, you know that, right?" Lisa said as she helped Robert disconnect copper wiring from a dead control panel. "We're basically taking apart everything that makes this ship work." "It's not working anyway," Robert replied, carefully coiling the salvaged wire. "At least this way we might be able to make something that does work." They had already stripped components from dozens of systems. Coffee makers, food processors, personal tablets, even the ship's entertainment system had been torn apart for their electronic parts. Robert had a theory that if they could combine enough small systems, they might be able to create one larger system that could restore basic power. Down in the cargo bay, Tom Bradley and Mark Thompson were working on the mining equipment. The massive drilling machines and ore processors had been built to survive in harsh asteroid fields, so their electronics were protected against electromagnetic interference. "Look at this," Tom said, pointing to a quantum processor inside a rock crusher. "This little computer chip can analyze and break down molecular structures in real time. If we can reprogram it, we could use it to control power distribution throughout the ship," Mark finished. "Brilliant. But how do we connect it to systems that don't exist anymore?" Meanwhile, Dr. Emily Watson was working alone in her laboratory, studying the strange crystalline fragments that had appeared in their ship's systems after the alien attack. Under her microscope, the crystals looked like tiny living things, constantly shifting and changing shape. "Fascinating," she whispered to herself. The crystals seemed to respond to electrical current, glowing brighter when she applied power and dimming when she reduced it. But more importantly, they appeared to be trying to connect with the ship's remaining circuits. She ran a simple test, placing one crystal fragment next to a damaged circuit board. Slowly, hair-thin tendrils of crystalline material began growing from the fragment, reaching toward the human electronics like fingers trying to touch something. "They want to link up," Emily realized. "The alien technology is trying to interface with our systems." She grabbed her communicator and called the bridge. "Captain, I need to speak with you immediately." James arrived in the lab within minutes, followed by Robert Hayes. Emily showed them what she had discovered. "The electromagnetic pulse didn't just destroy our systems," she explained. "It left behind traces of their technology. These crystals are some kind of quantum crystalline matrix. They store and process information at the subatomic level." Robert examined the crystals with interest. "So they're like extremely advanced computer chips." "More than that," Emily said excitedly. "They're adaptive. They learn and change based on what they connect to. When I attached one to our damaged circuits, it started trying to repair the connections." James felt a spark of hope. "Are you saying we might be able to use their own technology against them?" "Possibly," Emily replied. "But here's the really interesting part. Our chaotic, improvised approach to technology seems to confuse these crystals. They're designed to work with perfectly organized, efficient systems. When they encounter our jury-rigged solutions, they don't know how to respond, so they start adapting in unexpected ways." Back in the engineering section, Lisa Parker was connecting salvaged components in ways that would make any proper engineer cry. She had taken the quantum processor from a coffee machine and wired it to the navigation computer using cables from the entertainment system. This should not work, she muttered as she made the final connections. Every engineering textbook in the galaxy says this should not work. She activated the power coupling, and to her amazement, lights began flickering on throughout that section of the ship. Not just any lights, but brighter, steadier lights than the Defiance had ever had before. "Robert," she called out excitedly. "You need to see this." Robert arrived to find Lisa staring at a power reading that made no sense. The improvised system was generating more energy than the sum of its parts should have been capable of producing. "How is this possible?" he asked. Emily Watson appeared beside them, carrying one of the alien crystals. "I think I know," she said. "Lisa, try connecting this to your power coupling." Lisa carefully placed the crystal against the jury-rigged connection. Immediately, the entire system began humming with new energy. The lights grew even brighter, and control panels throughout the section began coming back to life. "The crystal is learning from our improvised connections," Emily explained. "It's taking our chaotic approach and using it to exceed the original design limitations. We're teaching alien technology how to think outside the box." Word spread quickly through the ship. Other teams began incorporating the alien crystals into their own repair work. Tom Bradley found that adding crystals to the mining equipment made the drills cut faster and more precisely than ever before. Mark Thompson discovered that the navigation systems enhanced with alien technology could detect gravitational fields and energy signatures that were previously impossible to sense. Within 18 hours, the Defiance was not just running again, but running better than it ever had. The hybrid human-alien systems were producing results that neither species should have been able to achieve alone. "Captain," Beth Adams called from the communications station, "I'm detecting ships approaching. Multiple contacts, same energy signature as the probe that attacked us." James looked around his transformed bridge. The displays showed impossible readings, the engines were generating incredible power, and his crew was looking at him with determined confidence instead of fear. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. 6 hours, sir." James smiled grimly. "Then we'd better figure out exactly what this ship can do now. All hands, prepare for visitors. Let's show these aliens what happens when humans get creative." The Defiance hung in space, no longer the helpless cargo ship it had been 2 days ago, but something entirely new and dangerous. The Defiance had become something that should not exist. Captain James Mitchell walked through his ship's corridors, amazed by what his crew had accomplished in just 2 days. The walls hummed with energy that felt alive, and displays showed readings that made no sense according to any human understanding of physics. "Captain, you really need to see this," Mark Thompson called from the navigation station. His voice carried excitement mixed with disbelief. James joined him at the console, where the star charts had transformed into something impossible. Instead of showing just the positions of stars and planets, the display now revealed the hidden structure of space itself. Glowing lines connected distant systems, showing pathways through folded dimensions that could cut months off their journey times. "How are we seeing this?" James asked. "The alien crystals in our navigation computer," Mark explained. "They're not just processing our sensor data anymore. They're showing us quantum tunnels through spacetime that our old systems could never detect. Sir, with these routes, we could travel to any system in the galaxy in a fraction of the time it used to take." Dr. Emily Watson appeared beside them, carrying a tablet full of test results. "Captain, the changes are happening throughout the ship. The hybrid systems aren't just working, they're evolving. Every hour, they become more capable." She showed him readings from the engine room. "Our power output has increased by 400%, but we're actually using less fuel. The alien crystals are teaching our fusion reactors how to extract energy more efficiently." Down in the cargo bay, Tom Bradley was testing their modified mining equipment. What had once been simple drilling lasers were now something entirely different. He aimed one of the devices at a thick steel plate and fired a short burst. The beam that emerged was perfectly focused and incredibly powerful. It cut through the steel like a hot knife through butter, leaving edges so smooth they looked polished. But more importantly, the laser had somehow become capable of adjusting its power and frequency automatically. "Lisa, come look at this," Tom called to Lisa Parker, who was monitoring the test from a safe distance. "The laser is reading the molecular structure of whatever you're cutting," Lisa observed, watching her scanner readings. "It knows exactly how much power to use and what frequency works best for each material. That's impossible. Our mining lasers were never designed to be that smart." "They weren't," Tom agreed. But the alien crystals connected to them are learning from every cut we make. They're getting smarter and more precise with each test. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Watson had been running experiments with some of the smaller crystal fragments. She placed one near the medical scanner and watched as it immediately began interfacing with the diagnostic systems. Incredible, she whispered as the medical equipment started showing biological information in ways it never had before. The scanner could now detect cellular damage at the quantum level and suggest treatments that were far beyond current human medical knowledge. Robert Hayes emerged from the engine room covered in grease but grinning widely. "Captain, our engines aren't just running better. They're running on principles that shouldn't exist. The alien crystals have somehow convinced our fusion reactors to tap into zero-point energy." "Zero-point energy?" James asked. "I thought that was just theoretical." "It was," Robert replied. "But apparently, when you combine human engineering with alien quantum matrices and don't worry too much about the rules, impossible things start becoming possible." Beth Adams looked up from her communication station with wonder in her eyes. "Sir, our communication array is picking up signals from across the galaxy. I can hear conversations happening on worlds dozens of light years away. The range and clarity are incredible." But the most shocking discovery came when Lisa Parker was running diagnostic tests on their defensive systems. The Defiance had never been a warship, just a cargo vessel with basic shields and simple weapons for protection against pirates. "Captain," she called out urgently, "you need to see what's happened to our hull integrity systems." James hurried to her station, where she was displaying a three-dimensional model of their ship. The hull was surrounded by a shimmering field that seemed to bend and twist space around them. "What am I looking at?" James asked. "Some kind of spatial distortion field," Lisa explained. "The alien crystals connected to our hull plating are creating a barrier that doesn't just stop incoming attacks. It makes them disappear entirely. Energy weapons, missiles, even physical objects just get absorbed into whatever this field is." Tom Bradley ran up to them, breathing hard from excitement. "Captain, I just tested our mining lasers on full power. They're not mining lasers anymore." The beam punched a hole through 3 asteroid shields and kept going. "We could probably cut through a battleship's armor without even trying hard." Dr. Watson joined the group, her tablet showing even more impossible readings. "The quantum matrices are networking together throughout the ship. They're sharing information and learning from each other. Every system connected to them is becoming more than it was designed to be." "How much more?" James asked. "I don't know," Emily admitted. "The growth seems to be accelerating. In another few hours, we might have capabilities that neither humans nor these aliens have ever seen before." Mark Thompson suddenly looked up from his navigation console with alarm. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting the alien fleet. 12 ships, approaching fast. They'll be here in 4 hours." James looked around at his crew, seeing determination mixed with amazement on their faces. 2 days ago, they had been helpless victims drifting in space, waiting to die. Now they commanded a vessel that operated on impossible principles and possessed weapons and defenses beyond anything in known space. "All right, people," he said calmly. "We've got 4 hours to figure out exactly what this ship can do. I want every system tested and every capability mapped. When those aliens arrive expecting to find a derelict cargo vessel, they're going to discover what happens when humans refuse to give up." The Defiance continued to evolve around them, its hybrid systems reaching new levels of impossible performance with each passing hour. The aliens had tried to destroy them, but instead had given humanity something far more powerful than they could have imagined. Admiral Vextar of the Kethera Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars shift as his fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 12 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy arranged themselves in perfect formation, their sleek hulls gleaming with the refined technology of a civilization that had ruled space for thousands of years. "Scan the area," Vextar commanded his science officer. "I want to confirm the primitive vessel has been properly disabled." The Kethera had used this method countless times before. Their electromagnetic pulse probes could disable any crude technology, leaving inferior species helpless and ready to be collected for proper education about their place in the galaxy. It was a mercy, really. Better to learn early than to be destroyed later for their ignorance. "Admiral," his science officer called out with confusion in her voice, "I am detecting the human vessel, but the readings are unusual." Vextar turned to look at the main display. Instead of the dark, powerless hulk he expected to see, the human cargo ship hung in space like a predator waiting to strike. Strange modifications covered its hull, and energy patterns flowed across its surface in ways that made no sense. Explain these readings, Vextar demanded. Sir, the power signatures are impossible. That vessel is showing energy output beyond our most advanced dreadnoughts, but it is built from primitive human technology. The readings do not make sense. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Captain James Mitchell stood calmly on his transformed bridge. The alien crystals had changed everything. Control panels displayed information in 3 dimensions, showing not just what was happening around them, but what was about to happen based on quantum probability calculations. 12 ships, Beth Adams reported from communications. All of them bigger than us, and their weapons are charging. Robert Hayes looked up from his engineering station. Captain, our new defensive systems are fully online. That spatial distortion field Lisa discovered is stronger than ever. I don't think their weapons can touch us. Dr. Emily Watson was monitoring the alien technology integrated throughout their ship. The quantum matrices are responding to the approaching threat. They are automatically optimizing all our systems for combat. It's like the ship knows what's coming and is preparing itself. James felt strangely calm as he watched the enemy fleet approach. 2 days ago, the sight of even one alien warship would have terrified him. Now, commanding a vessel that operated on impossible principles, he felt ready for whatever they could throw at him. Open a channel, he ordered. Admiral Vextar received the transmission with surprise. He had not expected the humans to still be alive, much less capable of communication. This is Captain James Mitchell of the human vessel Defiance, came the voice from the primitive ship. You attacked us without provocation and tried to murder my crew. I'm giving you one chance to explain yourselves. Vextar laughed coldly. Humans do not give chances to their superiors. You will surrender immediately, or we will destroy you and end your contamination of civilized space. I don't think so, Captain Mitchell replied calmly. You made one mistake when you attacked us. You left pieces of your technology behind, and we figured out how to use it better than you do. Impossible, Vextar snarled. Fire all weapons. Destroy that vessel. The KFRA fleet opened fire simultaneously. Plasma cannons that could vaporize asteroids sent streams of superheated energy toward the human ship. Quantum torpedoes that could punch through the strongest armor followed close behind. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The weapons struck the Defiance and simply disappeared. The spatial distortion field around the human vessel absorbed every bit of energy as if it had never existed. The ship sat unchanged in space, completely untouched by the devastating attack. What happened? Vextar demanded. Where did our weapons go? His weapons officer stared at his controls in disbelief. They were absorbed, sir. The energy just vanished into whatever field surrounds that ship. Aboard the Defiance, Lisa Parker watched her readings with amazement. The distortion field didn't just stop their attack. It absorbed all that energy and fed it into our power systems. We're actually stronger now than we were before they fired. James nodded grimly. Our turn. Tom, target their lead ship. Minimum power setting. Tom Bradley aimed what had once been a simple mining laser at the KFRA flagship. The weapon that emerged from the Defiance was no longer recognizable as human technology. The beam that struck Admiral Vextar's ship was perfectly controlled, slicing through their shields like they were made of paper and disabling their main systems without destroying the vessel. The mighty KFRA flagship went dark, drifting powerless in space just as the Defiance had been 2 days earlier. Impossible, Admiral Vextar whispered as his bridge lights failed and his engines died. Our shields are impenetrable. Our armor can withstand anything. Captain Mitchell's voice came over the communication channel, calm and steady. You wanted to see primitive human technology? This is what happens when we get desperate and start breaking the rules. Your weapons can't touch us, and ours can disable your ships without even trying hard. The remaining 11 KFRA vessels held their fire, their commanders too shocked to act. They were witnessing something that should not be possible. A cargo ship crewed by primitives had just defeated their most advanced warship with a single shot. Stand down your weapons, James continued, or I'll show you what we can do with full power. Your choice. Mark Thompson looked up from his navigation station. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildup in our main weapons. The alien crystals are preparing to fire automatically. I think they're trying to protect us. Hold fire, James ordered. He wanted to give the aliens a chance to surrender. Despite everything they had done, he was not interested in unnecessary killing. Admiral Vextar sat in his darkened command chair, staring at the human vessel that had just humiliated the pride of the KFRA Empire. For the first time in his long military career, he was facing an enemy he did not understand and could not defeat. 3 months after the battle, the Defiance floated peacefully beside Harmony Station, a massive space facility that had been built specifically for human-alien cooperation. Captain James Mitchell stood in the observation deck, watching as human engineers worked alongside HFY scientists on the construction of humanity's first true starship fleet. The ships taking shape in the construction bays looked nothing like the old human cargo vessels or the sleek HFY warships. They were something entirely new, built using the hybrid technology that had saved James and his crew. The hulls curved in impossible ways, covered with the same crystalline modifications that had transformed the Defiance. "It still amazes me," said Admiral Vextar, who now stood beside James as a friend rather than an enemy. The former HFY commander had spent weeks studying how the humans had defeated his fleet, and the experience had changed his entire understanding of technology and warfare. "What amazes you?" James asked. "How you achieved something that should have been impossible," Vextar replied. "My people spent thousands of years perfecting our technology. Every system was designed to work flawlessly, every component refined to absolute efficiency. Yet your crude, improvised solutions created results we could never imagine." Dr. Emily Watson approached them, carrying a tablet filled with the latest research data. She had become the leading expert on human-alien hybrid technology, working with scientists from both species to understand what they had accidentally created. "The latest test results are incredible," she reported. "The new ships we're building are faster, stronger, and more capable than anything either of our species has ever produced. But the really interesting part is that they are still evolving." She showed them readings from the newest vessel, which had been completed just yesterday. "The quantum matrices are continuing to learn and adapt. Each ship becomes more advanced than the one before it, and they're all sharing information through some kind of crystalline network." Robert Hayes joined them, still wearing his engineer's coveralls despite his new position as head of the Joint Technology Program. "The mining colonies are requesting the new drive systems," he reported. "Travel time to the outer systems has been cut from months to weeks. And the defense platforms we installed around Earth are more powerful than entire fleets used to be." "What about the other alien species?" James asked. Word of humanity's impossible victory had spread quickly throughout the galaxy, attracting attention from civilizations that had never shown interest in humans before. Vextar smiled, an expression that still looked strange on his angular alien features. "They are curious. The Zelani Confederacy has requested permission to study our joint research. The Tharic Empire wants to establish trade agreements with humanity. Even the Ancient Keepers have sent observers. And they all want to know the same thing," Emily added. "How did a species that barely knows how to build proper starships create technology that surpasses civilizations thousands of years older?" The answer, they had learned, was uniquely human. While other species had spent millennia perfecting their technology according to established principles, humans approached problems with chaos and creativity. When the HFY crystals encountered human improvisation, they learned to break their own programming limitations. Beth Adams appeared on the observation deck, looking excited. "Captain, you need to hear this transmission. It's from the outer colonies." She activated a communication device, and the voice of Colony Administrator Sarah Chen from Kepler Prime filled the room. "Captain Mitchell, I wanted to thank you personally. The new ships equipped with your hybrid technology arrived yesterday. What should have been a 6-month supply run took only 3 weeks. Our people are calling it a miracle." Similar reports were coming in from across human space. The impossible technology born from desperation and stubbornness was transforming human civilization. Colonies that had been isolated for months were now connected by fast, efficient transportation. Mining operations that had struggled with outdated equipment were now the most productive in the galaxy. Tom Bradley and Lisa Parker approached the group, both of them grinning with excitement. They had been testing the latest weapons systems, pushing the hybrid technology to see what it could accomplish. "Captain, you won't believe what we just discovered," Tom said. "The new defensive systems don't just protect ships. We can create shields around entire planets. Earth's defense grid is now completely impenetrable. And the construction capabilities are incredible," Lisa added. "We can build space stations in days instead of years. The alien crystals understand matter manipulation at the quantum level. We can literally reshape materials at the atomic level." James looked around at his crew, the same people who had faced death in the darkness of space and refused to give up. They had become the foundation of a new era in galactic civilization, not through conquest or superior firepower, but through their refusal to accept the impossible. "What's our next mission?" Mark Thompson asked, appearing beside them with star charts showing unexplored regions of the galaxy. The Galactic Council has requested our help, Vextar explained. There are ancient ruins on the edge of known space, technology so advanced that no one has been able to understand it. They want to know if human creativity combined with our quantum matrices might unlock secrets that have been hidden for millions of years. James smiled, feeling the familiar excitement of facing the unknown. Sounds like our kind of challenge. When do we leave? The Defiance is ready whenever you are, Captain, Robert reported. The new modifications are online, and the crew is eager for another adventure. As James prepared to lead his ship into the unknown once again, he reflected on how much had changed. 3 months ago, they had been a simple cargo crew trying to deliver supplies to a distant colony. Now they were pioneers of a new age, proving that sometimes the best way to solve impossible problems was to ignore the rules and try something completely crazy. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but humanity had learned that with enough stubborn creativity, there was no problem that couldn't be solved and no challenge that couldn't be overcome.